What is good? What is up? It's Jordan, or Texans Thoughts, and I'm back with another Texans film breakdown. Today, we are going to be looking at Bradley Roby's 2019 tape with the Houston Texans. Shoutouts to everyone who recommended him at the end of the video. I appreciate y'all. When we signed Bradley Roby to a one-year deal, I was really excited and thought it was a steal. And I'm really happy that we re-signed him to a very team-friendly contract. The tape shows someone who, if used correctly, can be an elite cornerback. Now I think he's really solid on the outside, but where he thrives is in the slot. I think he can be a top 3, top 5 nickel cornerback if we just play him there the entire time. And nickel cornerbacks have so much more value than people think. It can honestly be harder to play in the nickel than on the outside, and a strong nickel can completely change a defense. Most of all, Roby is a playmaker, man. His interceptions are game-changing, and he should have had like 3 more if he didn't drop them. That impact of getting turnovers cannot be understated. Getting the defense off the field and putting the ball back into Sean's hands, that's just gonna be money, man. So if you enjoyed the video, please do hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and comment down below your thoughts on the video. Now, let's break down the film of Bradley Roby, because the film don't lie. So I want to start off by talking about how he was on the outside, where he played majority of the season. And he was good on the outside, don't get me wrong. I just don't think he'd be that cornerback 1 that we were kind of playing him in that role. I think he's a high-level cornerback 2 on the outside, but I think he can be elite in the slot, and I'll get back to that later. On the good reps on these off-man coverage, it's all about him staying square for as long as possible and not flipping his hips too early. It's something I've preached a lot about on cornerback play, because if you get your hips turned too early, then you're going to just be vulnerable to any cut to the opposite direction, and I'll show that in a couple plays, don't worry. But here, at this point, you can see that he's square to the wide receiver. When the wide receiver is really close to him, this is very dangerous. And he's able to stay square for this long, number 1, because he trusts his hips. His hips are very fluid. Number 2, because he trusts his speed. If the wide receiver is running a go on this, he can flip his hips and turn with him and keep up with him very easily, because Roby's one of the fastest corners in the league. But if it's a cut, then he has the ability to break inside or outside depending on what the wide receiver does. And so on this play, the wide receiver breaks inside, and Roby's able to cut inside with him and be right in position to break up the ball and just barely drop the interception. Now here's a good example of Roby's fluid hips, which are very important to a cornerback, and he's able to stay low here, which allows him to flip his hips back outside and stay in the play and right in tight coverage on this wide receiver here in the end zone. And it's really important on this double move here because he flips his hips a bit early on this one and he bites a little bit on that inside fake. But it's this elite change of direction skills that he shows occasionally in off-man coverage that allows him to just smother this wide receiver. So now I just want to show a little bit of how detrimental it can be when you flip your hips too early and you have to go back in the opposite direction. You're just not able to always consistently be able to flip your hips that smoothly like on the previous play. You can see the Roby, he has his hips flipped basically from the jump to the inside, and it's just on this outbreaking route, it's just very hard for him to get back. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. He's just not on a consistent basis able to always stay square to the wide receiver for as long as possible like we saw in the very first play, and that's what leads to some of the inconsistencies on the outside. Now we talked about the good and bad of off-man coverage, but I want to look at press, and this is where I really think Roby succeeds. He can just run routes for the wide receiver. With these physical jams, he's able to mess with their releases, and that messes up the timing and fluidity of their routes. His jam is just really effective because he's very technically sound with it. As you can see on this play, he goes right into the wide receiver's chest. And if you can get into the chest, just like a pass rusher wants to get into the chest of an offensive lineman, you're going to be more powerful than them. And you can see how that blows back the wide receiver just a little bit. It stuns him and just throws him off of his route. And even if Roby doesn't get a physical jam on the wide receiver, I still like him in press like on this play where he's able to stay closer just by the fact that, I mean, he's lined up closer to the wide receiver. We saw a lot of times in off man when he was just so far off, there's really nothing that he can do. But on this play against Julio, it may look like he got beat a little bit, but it's just actually part of the play call, like to play more aggressive. And so the Texans are in cover 2 man here, and to Sean Gibson, the safety, he's really bracketing Julio Jones. Yes, he's playing a deep half, but he's also just really focusing in on Julio Jones, kind of like a pseudo double team right here. And so Roby is going to take the underneath. He's going to play anything underneath, which is why he's in the trail tech, where he's going to be playing from behind the wide receiver. And then Gibson's going to take anything over top. And so that's why he's a little bit more aggressive and he's sitting on this underneath route, which ends up working out really well for the Texans because Julio isn't going deep. He is running more of a shallow route, and then Roby's right there in position. So we saw the good and the bad with Roby on the outside, but I'm telling y'all, I really believe Roby is elite in the slot. That's where he's consistently locked down. After week 1, when we saw how trash Aaron Colvin was, we knew we needed to get him the hell out of there. And so we plugged Roby in the nickel, and it was night and day. So how does he win as a nickelback? Well, it helps that he's able to stay close. They'll always have him in press while he's in the nickel, and that allows him to get his hands on the wide receiver and use his physicality to his advantage. He's so good at throwing off the timing of wide receivers and getting them uncomfortable. I also love his ability to undercut routes. There were so many examples where he'd undercut the wide receiver and be in perfect position for a game-changing interception. And he didn't just do that against some pedestrian slot wide receivers, he did it against great competition and the top wide receivers in the game. Up against Keenan Allen, one of the best route runners in the entire league. At this point, you can see how he wins at the stem is by getting physical with Keenan Allen. You can see that left hand is on Keenan Allen's shoulder pad, and that allows him to slingshot him back into this play, flipping his hips and locking Keenan down. Now on this one, Keenan stops on a dime at the stem of the route, but Roby fights back into it, and he gets into great position right here where he's undercut the route. His short area burst to accelerate back into position like this, where he can undercut the route and be in perfect position. If that was an accurate throw, man, Roby's housing that. That's 6, and we know about his big play ability, man. And I'll get to his interceptions in a minute, just hold on for that, but for now, I love his matchup versus Julio, man. He never backed down from a fight. I love this dog mentality to stay physical with someone who's got a lot of size on him. You can see here that the jam where he gets his hands on Julio, man, and he ain't backing down. And it throws off this route. It's just a simple out route, but he's on top of this the entire way. There's zero separation. And that's just great to see against one of the best wide receivers in the league. Now, everyone wants to stop the Chiefs, and everyone wants to stop Tyreek Hill. And Bradley Roby is honestly one of the best cornerbacks in the league in stopping him. He's got the speed, the agility to at least keep up. No one can really beat Hill in a foot race, but Roby's pretty damn close. And it's his ability to stay in the hip pocket the entire way and then win at the catch point right here that I love. So just keep in mind he's locking down the top competition while in the slot. On the outside, it can be a bit of a different story, but I'll get to that later in the video. Now let's get into a huge part of Bradley Roby's game, and that's his aggressiveness. And we see how that aggressiveness can really help the Texans out with the form of his interceptions. He had 2 interceptions this past year, and this one against the New England Patriots, it really is just a great example of how important turnovers can be for a team. It completely flipped the tide of this game, gave us all the momentum in the world, and we never looked back. It was just big time. And we have Roby's aggressiveness to thank for that. He's always looking to take risks, jump routes. As I showed before, he's always undercutting routes. And on this one, he really just jumps the slant route so nicely. It's that short area acceleration that I talked about before, and that's really evident on this play. He knows that he has the ability to get in front of that slant right there, and that the rookie wide receiver, N'Keal Harry, he really didn't run a great route here. But Roby is able to just kind of push him off his spots, beat him to where he wants to go, and just manhandle him. Honestly, that's just a vet taking a rookie to school, man. We see his aggressiveness again in his other interception against Tampa Bay. In Offman Coverage here, he breaks on the ball before it's even thrown, taking that risk, and it pays off for him big time by bringing home the touchdown. Let's go. So this wide receiver, Justin Watson, he's going to be running an out route. And Jameis Winston, he's actually going to throw a decently timed ball here. As soon as he hits the top of his drop, the ball is out. But Roby just completely outplays them. You can see at this point when Winston is starting his windup for his throw, Roby's already breaking on the ball. He already sees it coming. Because he has his eyes in the backfield, he's able to see what the quarterback is able to do. And that's why he's dangerous in off coverage. That's where the boom and bust kind of is. Like some plays like these, he'll make a big play because he's reading the quarterback and the wide receiver so well. And some other plays, he might be caught out of position. But on this one, he just plays it so well. That short area acceleration I've been talking about to break on the ball, get back into this play and undercut it. Everything just comes full circle in this one play and results in 6. So like I mentioned before, Roby had so many other opportunities for picks that he just barely dropped. He had 2 in this Bills game alone that would have sealed the game. But looking at this play, just look at how much ground he can cover when he drives aggressively like that. That's another 6 he should have had. One of my favorite Roby plays right here, and he's just very aggressive, even against Tyreek Hill. Look at this point where he's sitting on the route, he's not backing up whatsoever, and if Hill's running a go, Roby is burnt. I mean, I said that he's fast, but if you ain't running back at this point, I don't care who you are, against Tyreek Hill, you fried, man. But he's sitting on this route because of 2 reasons. Number 1, he's playing the sticks. This was a 3rd down, and he figured that the Chiefs were going to run a dig or a curl to the sticks, trying to go to their number 1 option in Hill. And now the second reason is because he knows he has safety help over top. He trusts that if Hill's running a go, Jay Reed's got his back. So he's playing aggressive here, but he's also just playing really smart. And that allows him to be in perfect position for when Hill does cut off this route short and run a curl to the sticks. So Roby is in perfect position to drive on the ball and break it up. He dropped another pick unfortunately, but this is great coverage. And it's all about picking your spots, about when to be aggressive and when to make plays, taking risks, and when you gotta just trust your natural abilities. Here's just a couple more examples where he should have had more picks throughout the year. I don't know about y'all, but when this one happened and before I saw the flag, I was so hyped, man. I was like, don't test my boy Roby. Oh man, he could have had like 5, 6, 7 picks this year. Again, the second one against the Bills, man. Another drop one that would have sealed the game too. But man, he is a playmaker, interception machine. Now, no player is perfect, and talking about Bradley Roby's weaknesses, he can struggle against the top dogs sometimes. You know, earlier in the video I showed that he's elite in the slot against the top guys, Julio, Keenan, Tyreek, whoever. But when he was on the outside, it was a bit of a different story and a bit of a mixed bag. And you know, that's okay because I don't think Roby is really our cornerback one, the guy to shadow and follow around the star wide receivers. I really do believe that's Conley's role, and I made a video on him showcasing some of those talents. And if y'all haven't checked that one out, I would really appreciate that. But in terms of Roby, I honestly don't entirely know what it is, but he just seems more comfortable on the inside. It's where he played his best with the Broncos on their Super Bowl runs, and it's still where I think he's best here with Houston. He's just not that guy you want following around the star wide receiver all game, but that's totally fine. The next thing I want to talk about is Roby's ball skills, and particularly his ball skills when he has his back to the ball and isn't able to see it. And it's one thing to stay in sticky coverage, which we've seen all throughout this video. Roby can definitely stay in phase, but then you've still got to win at the catch point, and something Conley does really well, but Roby, not as much when he can't see the ball. You can see here that he's all over this wide receiver, but the ball is perfectly placed, and he's just not able to make a play on it. He has good inside positioning, but he just can't do it. And Conley does really well to look back at the very last second, or not look back at all and still make a play on the ball. But Roby's he's got to get better at that, in my opinion. I mean, even on this play, if he looks back right here, he has an easy interception, you know what I mean? It was weird, just especially early in the season, there were some plays where he'd be right in perfect tight coverage and just wouldn't be able to make a play on the ball, and it was really frustrating, to be honest. And for a little bit, I honestly didn't think that Roby had the best ball skills, but then watching the film back, I realized what the difference was. Like I said, it's really just whether or not he can see the ball. And so Weaver needs to put him in positions to succeed where he never has to turn his back. He should never be playing trail technique. He should be asked to stack wide receivers more so that he can keep his eyes on the ball, on the quarterback to see when the ball's being thrown. And that'll help him with his ability to jump routes as well. Alright, that'll do it for my Bradley Roby film breakdown. And thank you to everyone who requested me to do Bradley Roby. So shout out Manel Ponte, Jerry Vargas, Totem 200, I don't know how to pronounce that, but thank y'all so much. I really do appreciate y'all's support. I'm sorry if I pronounced any of your names wrong, and if I missed anyone else's Roby's recommendation. I always love interacting with y'all in the comments below, and so if you have someone you want to see a video on, leave it in the comments, and I will try my very best to get to it. Probably not that week, maybe not even the week after, because I do plan out my videos a week or two in advance. But I will get them done eventually. Now back to Roby. I really hope Anthony Weaver uses him in the slot because he is elite there. And it honestly all comes down to if Lonnie Johnson can just be average on the outside. If that happens, man, this secondary is looking nice. So if you enjoyed the video, please do hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and comment down below your thoughts on the video. If you're still listening, you're a real one. I appreciate you. And the question of the day is, who do you think is the best cornerback on the Texans, Bradley Roby or Conley? Did my videos on either of them help sway you in either direction? Let me know. Also, I'm a part of Texans Unfiltered, where I write more film breakdowns about the Texans on our website, and we've got a weekly podcast on all your typical platforms as well. So if you're itching for more Texans content, we got you. The links will be in the description. Alright, this was Jordan or Texans Thoughts. Hope you enjoyed, and come back for more videos every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Take care, everyone.